Kacee, thanks for taking a minute to get on camera. I know this is outside of your normal, what you would do every day at the office, but I wanted to give our clients a chance to get to know you a little bit. You've been a paralegal for, I think, since you can walk, probably one of the more experienced in Southern Utah. But I want to start even before that and get a chance to just let people get a feel for who you are as a person. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Like, let's start with just where'd you grow up?
St. George. Born and raised in St. George.
So you're one of those weirdos. You're born right here.
Yep.
What was that like?
Loved it. I feel like I had like an idyllic childhood. Like we got to walk down to the corner store. We played night games. Like we had like a childhood dream. So small town.
What part of town did you grow up in?
Washington.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were in Washington, like, and this is how long ago?
Don't do that.
Washington's come a long way.
It has, but it still looks similar. Like there's still a park there that I played at, and the soccer field's a cemetery, and
so
some of it.
What high school did you go to?
Pineview.
Okay. How was that?
Great.
Yeah. What about like what type of things did you do in high school?
I really liked baseball, so I helped with the baseball team. And I loved that. I loved to just take stats and like just help the team with stuff. That was a big like high point for me. And I had really good friends. So we just caused havoc all over St. George and we had the best time. So
that sounds fun. So tell me about, did you have siblings?
Yeah, I'm the youngest. I have 3 older sisters.
What was that like?
Great. Yeah, great. My sisters are like my best friends. I can't really recall anything significant as far as like growing up, but I always had somebody. So that's what was always awesome.
Yeah. Are you still close with your sisters now?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So you grow up here in old Washington, go to Pineview High, graduate high school, and then what's next for you?
I went to Dixie and studied there, and then I got married and I went to SUU for a little while, and then my job took me in a different direction. So that's how I ended up here.
Okay. And what was that job?
So I got a job when I was in college working for a law firm here in town, and I really liked it. I didn't know anything about it when I started, but it was a great part-time job when I was going to college. And then I really just dug into it and liked it and kept doing it, and opportunities kept coming. And so I kept taking them. So.
Okay. So working as a personal injury paralegal kind of changed the trajectory for you. Like, did you stop
Absolutely.
going to SUU to go full time or?
Yeah. In fact, that was a decision I made with the attorney I was working for at the time. It was hard to do both. And I wanted to buy a house and kind of dig my roots in. So he said, I'd love to have you full time if you're willing. We need like another full-time paralegal on our team. And so I said yes. And I started doing it and really dove in with the caseload that we had. Luckily, I had been like a paralegal assistant before that, so I was very familiar. And just then kept continuing on and kept finding things I liked. And
so to be like a personal injury paralegal, then you don't need like any special degree or certificate. Essentially, that's a job position that you can come into and learn on the job.
Sure, yeah. And in fact, most of them do. You can go get like a certificate or certified. I know I looked into it years ago, and there was a certain number of years of on-the-job training in lieu of a degree that you could then go get certified. But yeah, absolutely on-the-job training.
So what was that like? Like coming into a law firm, you're a college student, you're now working at this law firm, then you're going full-time and kind of being asked to, hey, now you're not a paralegal assistant, you're a paralegal. What is that like to be asked to learn all these crazy things that we do on the job? Like, tell us about that experience.
It was a lot of information to learn and kind of a different language to learn. There's a lot of ins and outs, and avenues to help clients that you don't really know until they come up. And so the more that you can learn these individual circumstances and apply them to bigger circumstances, the better you can help. And so I luckily got to learn piece by piece. I had really good mentorship, and I did a lot of trainings, and I really was very curious. I think that's what was helpful, is that especially the attorney I worked for at the time, he would appeal to my curiosity and let us dig into, well, what about this? And what about that? Or what about if this happens? Or how would we pursue that? And we could kind of go down these hypothetical pathways and figure out the best ways to help our clients. And it ended up being really helpful for me, because then when the situations did present themselves, we had already addressed it, and we kind of had a game plan, at least, for how to help them in the best way.
So give me an example. What is a thing that like you would learn as a paralegal and then be able to apply later to help more people that like before working at a personal injury law firm, you would just have no idea about?
Well, I have weird ones, if you want weird ones.
But tell me a weird one and a normal one.
Okay, so a weird one I learned about was animals they're actually property. When you look at it, as far as if you have your dog in the car with you and something happens, they're considered property. And like a dog lover, I'm like, property, they should get their own medical claim. But it's just more being aware of that. And so being safe when you travel with your pets, because they don't have a medical claim in that way, or it's unique to make it. But it's just more helping them in bigger ways, is feeling like I really understand the process and understanding the ins and outs of it, and then being able to apply it to individual situations. And it's like I said, it's a different language that you have to learn. And so when you understand wage loss, when you understand household services, when you understand medical bills and deductibles and how things work, then you can apply that and you can help educate your clients, where hopefully people don't know this information because they don't want to know it, you know?
Yeah.
You don't want to have to know it, I guess, is really what it is, until you do. And then it really helps if somebody's been figuring out the ins and outs of stuff, that they can say, I got this. That's probably one of the best things, is being able to tell a client like, oh, I know how to do this well.
So what does, like, if you're handling wage loss and medical bills and all this, like, so what does the attorney do?
A lot.
doesn't sound like it.
So that's kind of the front end of it. The attorney then takes that information and applies all of his background knowledge and education and experience to be able to basically interpret this raw data that we gather into something that makes sense for an insurance company and helps evaluate the claim and helps a client get a fair compensation. And so it's like we gather data and they interpret it and make it something that is able to be compensated and understood. And that's kind of the hard part, is that you have this world of individual data points or individual things, and to the general public or other people, it doesn't always make sense. And so that's really kind of where I think paralegals and attorneys work hand in hand so well, is one picks up where the other one leaves off.
So tell me, like, so about the dog thing then is property. So what does that mean? So if I've got my dog in my car with me and my dog gets hurt and I have to take him to the vet, have these medical bills, like how does that work? What do I get?
What do you get?
Yeah, like who pays for that?
So you can try to file a claim, but they don't get to make their own medical claim. That's what's hard, is that a person in a car, there's PIP coverage, and then there's bodily injury coverage on the liability, and dogs are not people. And so they don't get to make a claim that way. So you can try to file it under property damage.
So like if my dog then is killed, I get the value of buying a yellow lab, right? It doesn't matter how much I loved my dog. Which sucks. And people feel that way sometimes about cars, which people didn't want to sell their car, and then now they have to because it's totaled. And yeah, with dogs, it's even a lot more dramatic.
Yeah.
I remember, so you mentioned PIP. You actually like taught me what PIP was. Tell me what's PIP? What does that mean?
PIP is personal injury protection. It's just the part of your insurance policy that covers you initially. And so in Utah, we have specific amounts that are designated that we have to have. And they kind of come in and pay, not kind of, they do come in and pay regardless of who causes the crash. And they can help initially with bills and some wage loss and then household services.
How much wage loss?
$250 a week is all.
Yeah, not a ton.
Yeah, not a lot.
It's better than nothing.
Yeah.
So people can get $250 a week in the short term if they're out of work from a car accident from their own PIP.
Yeah.
And then do they ever get the rest of it?
Yeah. So it doesn't stop you from making a claim against the other driver. It kind of just gives you a little Band-Aid in the meantime to help. But yeah, then we can make a full claim for the wage loss when we go after the person that caused it.
Gotcha. So tell me about, like, you've been doing this for how long?
I started in 2007.
So you've got, 16 years experience, something like that, give or take, of being a personal injury paralegal. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me, like, about a client that comes to mind? Like, you've had hundreds. Is there one that comes to mind that you can just tell us a story, an example of one use case of somebody that, was in an accident or whatever it might have been that happened to them, and kind of how you were able to help and what the outcome was, so we can visualize what's the end story of what you're trying to do for these people?
Sure. I have a couple of clients that have stuck with me through the years. One of the first ones that I really, really remember and that has stayed with me was actually a plane crash.
Wow. Okay.
And what we did, and I think really where I took the most pride in, is that we sorted through information and we took these raw data points and we made a cohesive story to help submit a claim for them to the insurance company. And there was a lot of very sensitive information, a lot of really hard information, and something that family members just should not have to see or deal with. And so it was emotionally taxing. But it was something that I felt like I could immediately see that someone's wife or someone's mom or someone's husband didn't have to go through and sort through this data and this information and photos and videos. And we were able to kind of put it together and then take all of the expenses and put them into a very clean, easy to follow worksheet, and then give the client, their family, just a packet that said, I know this doesn't bring your loved one back, but here's something that hopefully you can create more memories with your family in the future or alleviate stress in a different way. And so that, to me, is what paralegals do, is they take these jobs and they take these pieces of information and they do what families shouldn't have to do in those times and put it together and put it in a clean package and let you move on. Yeah,
makes sense. So tell me about, when somebody, loses their life, or is, tragically, maimed or killed or whatever it might be. Obviously the money doesn't bring them back, and it's just all we can do for them. What about an example of a person is there anybody that comes to mind that you can think of that was more of a, they weren't that bad. Like maybe they didn't even want to hire an attorney, or they were on the fence, but they had, stresses or issues that you could help with. Cause obviously a lot more of our clients are kind of more in that boat where they're not even sure if they even need an attorney or why.
Yeah.
Does anybody come to mind that you felt like you were connected with, that you were able to help with that type of thing?
Sure. Yeah. I had another client. He had a custom motorcycle. It had a custom paint job. It was a showpiece for him. And somebody lost a mattress on the freeway, and it caused him to crash. Luckily, he was okay. It was injuries that he was going to heal from. It would take some time, but he was okay. But he had this bike that they just would not assess properly. It was one of those situations where it was definitely worth more to him than the insurance company would allow. So we ended up fighting quite a bit about that. Because of its uniqueness, we ended up using what's called the appraisal clause. And we had it sorted out, and we were able to get him closer to what we felt like was fair, for him to be able to actually build a new bike and have it custom painted similarly to his old one. And then luckily he was able to retain his old one and used it as art after. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
And I know he was happy about that, even though it was a less than ideal situation. It ended up working out in the end and something that he could kind of close the chapter on, but still nod to his old bike that meant so much to him.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, that's a good example. What about, what's your favorite thing about being a personal injury paralegal?
I say this a lot, but I like helping people in ways that they cannot help themselves.
Okay. What about what's the worst thing about being a personal injury paralegal?
Having to tell people hard things.
Yeah. How often does that happen? Do you have an example of that?
Yeah. I've had a lot of situations where people are significantly injured and there's just not enough insurance to go around. And unfortunately, although, we don't create that situation, we definitely have to explain that situation and educate our clients on what that situation actually is. And so that's hard. And I've had to do that more times than I would like.
So what do you do? Like, what can be done? Like, why would anybody even consider hiring an attorney at all if they know that there's not enough insurance to make it right anyway? Like, what things can be done to make it so the client gets the most money possible when there's a limit and there's only so much money to go around?
So I have another win right now that I can share. I have a really sweet little girl. She got hit by a drunk driver when she was walking with her friend and had over $150,000 of medical bills, a lot. There was $50,000 of coverage. So clearly it doesn't make sense right off the bat. But what we were able to do is go in and work with the providers, work with insurance, help them access coverages that they weren't aware of. And we ended up getting money in her pocket, where before that, her parents were looking at just getting set up on a payment plan with the hospital.
So you're able to get the whole $150,000 in medical bills resolved for less than the 50.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And she got money in her pocket because before that she got nothing.
Yeah.
And now there's something for her in the future as she heals and moves on and needs care in the future.
What attorney do you work with?
Nate Langston.
What's he like?
Nate Langston is one of the smartest people I know and one of the happiest litigators. Most personal injury attorneys I work for want to avoid court, and Nate just wants to be there more.
Yeah, he's weird, huh?
Yeah. I like it about him, but it's weird.
Yeah, cool. Okay, is there anything else that you would want clients, if they were getting to know you and watching this video, that you'd want them to know about you?
I probably just am more nervous around them than they are around me. I like to be behind the scenes and getting things done, but I get nervous. And so I would love if clients would ask me questions and try to understand if they don't, or tell me that they don't understand. But really just that I want to help them. That's my ultimate goal, is that I really like to help people. And I like to help people in situations that they just can't help themselves. That brings me a lot of joy.
Awesome. Thanks for getting on camera for a minute, letting us get to know you.
Thanks.